I don't want this to make it sound like I'm saying anything negative about any of our honorees. I'm very impressed and humbled by them. But Ross Greenberg is a true giant in the field of sports media. What we do on a small scale is try and tell the history of Jewish people in a way that you don't necessarily think of, and that's through sports. Ross does this at an unbelievably high level. The excellence, when you read his bio, you see 56 Sports Emmy Awards, 8 Peabody Awards. If you want to learn about sports in the world, watch one of his documentaries. Ross started out at HBO. He eventually became president of HBO Sports. The documentaries cover everything from boxing to baseball to hockey to football, you name it. And I look at it sort of as Dr. Doug looks at what I say about Jews in sports. It's a learning experience done in an unbelievably very well done way. And I always know it's a Ross Greenberg production, not only because of the quality of what he does, but because it's almost always, I think, Leah Schreiber is your narrator. So I know this is one of the better stories told. I'd like to ask Ross Greenberg to come up. Please, when you get the opportunity, read his bio. I do him a disservice because of all that he's accomplished. I got to meet him. He was gracious enough when they made Hitler's Pawn that I mentioned earlier about Margaret Lambert, and Ross invited me and members of the Hall of Fame committee to come down to HBO. It was a thrill for us, and of course I watch as not just somebody who's involved with Jews in sports. I love sports, whether it be 61 or following the training camp series that he's done. Just an unbelievable lifetime of accomplishments in the world of sports documentaries. And I'm really honored that he's here with us today. And it's my pleasure to introduce our next inductee, Ross Greenberg.
Okay. So, first I want to congratulate all the other inductees. Very impressive group. These high school and college kids blow me away. I actually did play sports. I was a golfer and a rugby player at Brown, which went together real well. And I also played football, and that was the beginning of my introduction into sports television. I played football with Kyle Gifford, whose father was Frank Gifford, neither of whom were Jewish, but I did get my entree into sports television through Frank, and ended up finding it as a world that felt like Disneyland. And it happened to be at a time when ABC Sports was really ruling the world in terms of sports media, and Roone Arledge, who was running it, decided that he would go deeper and teach you about the athletes and teach you about the storylines that were unfolding, the dramatic storylines that only sports can kind of take you by the hand and lead you through the similarity between life's lessons and what's happening on the field. I was also the type of kid that used to cry a little bit when I would watch some great athlete win a championship, whether it was my Jets and Joe Namath or athletes winning a gold medal. And from there, I decided that I would make a career of it and that I would go to HBO because of a Jewish man named Marty Glickman, who I had met earlier in my life through Frank, through a sports camp, but I won't get into the specifics of that. It was for underprivileged Scarsdale kids. It was going to Europe and skiing and playing tennis in the summer on glaciers. So I got Kyle to go with me, Frank's son. But anyway, so I met Marty, and Marty happened to be the first person on camera at HBO, for those of you who are not familiar. He was one of 3 people that started HBO, and he became a mentor and really almost like a part of our family. and he was someone I relied on throughout my entire career. Learned his story, which I really hope all of you can catch a glimpse of Glickman, which I didn't do, but I was in because I knew deep the story of Marty and Jesse Owens in the 1936 Olympics. Later on, as you just heard earlier, Margaret Lambert appeared as a subject for a documentary on those same Olympics as a German athlete, Jewish athlete that was denied her chance to perform at those Olympic Games. So this was all embedded in me through my parents, my mother, Janice, my father, Robert. You know, we had a Jewish upbringing. It meant a lot to me, but more than anything, the empathy, the love, the emotion that Jews tend to have for other stories, not just about Jews, but about others, that sports gave me the platform to tell. I was able to understand the oppression that others went through. I understood what Bill Russell was going through, because as a Jew, you go through a lot of that. So as time went on, there were 100 documentaries, there were series like Hard Knocks, there were a lot of different things where we could really go deep and we could really get you to laugh or cry or understand the world we live in. And I'll continue to do that until I decide it's enough and I can't put up with it anymore. But there's one reason that my continuous love of this kind of medium goes on, and that's Michelle, who's sitting right over there. She works for a living helping child abuse victims and get their stories told to prosecutors and DAs and others who need to delve into their lives and figure out how they can help, who they can prosecute, frankly. And understanding the heart and soul of what she does has also given me a lifeline to keep telling dramatic stories about those less fortunate, even in the world of sports. You heard that eloquently discussed earlier. And that's really she's my driving force. She doesn't even know it. She's probably hearing it for one of the first times. But thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Mom and Dad. And thank all of you, and especially Alan, for this great honor. And I really, really want to thank all those other honorees and inductees, because you are the stories and the inspirations for me. Thank you.
Is Dr. John Halpert here? No? Dave? Oh, there you are. Yeah, you snuck in on me. Hi there. I'd like to ask John and David to come up. Tell you a little bit about Jonathan Halpert.